Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, and good night, and welcome to a belated, and we weren't going to call it out as belated, but it is belated, War in the Webway. I'm Ollie, and as always, I'm joined by my esteemed colleague, Alan. Say hello, Alan.
Hello, everyone. Hello, and yeah. Was it 5 weeks?
It's been about 5 weeks. Work got busy, and then we tried to do a recording, and then life got in the way, and then Christmas happened. So
When you if you mean my 2-year-old daughter.
I can't. I'm not throwing shade on anybody here. I couldn't do any recordings. This is yeah.
For everyone listening, we were doing a recording, and then I was normally she's sleeping quite well at the moment, but then everything lit up when she had a nightmare and started screaming down the baby monitor. So it's a go, and we called time on it. We called time on that one.
We were half an hour through, and it was just one of those things. I was like, "Yep, that's cool. That's all good, man." So yeah, we were trying to do recordings in between, but it's been a while. It's been a while. I mean, there's lots to catch up on. Jesus, talk about the 5 weeks to miss.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We're back in the summer when we were struggling for content, and now it's just like, right, which bit do you want to start with?
Great. I mean, for those, obviously, it is quite difficult to kind of maintain content when you're just focusing on one faction,
One
especially
faction
when
with 4 detachments, of which one is terrible.
which two are terrible,
Two.
and we haven't really looked at Auric Champions before much. I've played them a few times, but they are shocking. So, like, yeah, it's quite difficult. Now we've got another detachment with the WCW Talons. Maybe we need to look at that in a new light. So, yeah, there's lots to talk about.
Cool. So, with that in mind, shall we start by this episode? Just this episode, I'm trying to be really focused on this. This is our New Year's resolution. A slightly tighter podcast with an actual theme, and this theme is going to be the Grotmas detachment. Are you okay with that?
Yeah. Yeah, so the idea, listeners, what we're going to do is we're going to do 3, based on to cover up what we've missed. We're going to do 3 podcasts. The first one's going to be around the Grotmas detachment and the data slate. The second one's going to be about WCW and about us winning that,
And the Talons list and bites.
and the Talons list that Fogler Piles ran, and the third thing is going to be, right now we've had a few weeks, where do we see the ground lying? What are the new traps that we've got to avoid? What are the new traps that we can lay? All that kind of stuff,
Yeah. And just before we get into it, we do read all your comments, so thank you to everyone asking for where our opinions are, and hopefully this brings them up to date. Okay, so do you want to get into it? The Grotmas detachment. Merry Christmas.
Yes, Merry Christmas. Why don't you read it through it? Because my wife wants to turn the kettle on. So while the kettle's boiling, you can read through it.
This is a fully professional podcast right here. Yeah, so Solar Spearhead. We were talking about how we got 4 detachments and 2 of them are actually usable. Now we've got a third potentially. Biggest criticism of Custodes, Codex Custodes anyway, is the lack of playability amongst our vehicles, specifically our Dreadnoughts. And in the past, in 9th and 8th, we've always had strong Dreadnoughts and Dreadnought lists. I used to love my Telemons. You've always loved your Galatus and your Achilles. So the Solar Spearhead, and I'll get into exactly what it does, it was a breath of fresh air, I think, for myself at least, to think about the Forge World models that can come off my shelf, get a bit of a dusting down. So
Same here.
And we'll get into actually how playable they could be. But anyway, so in terms of what they do, it is about armor. Custodes vehicles, if they're not battle shocked and are above at the starting strength, they get +2 OC, which is nice. While an Adeptus Custodes unit from your army is below starting strength, you can reroll hit roll of 1. And while an Adeptus Custodes is below half strength, you can reroll a wound roll of 1, which is huge. And then walkers, so all our Dreadnoughts, have +2 to movement. And one of our criticisms, and we've said it enough times until we're blue in the face, is Dreadnoughts are unplayable with 6-inch moves. 8-inch moves are a different matter.
It's the double layering here, because I mean, obviously, yeah, everyone knows what this detachment does now, pretty much. I mean, we're quite late to war, but it's a double layering because the strats also enable you to move through walls, right? So one of them does. So what you've got is you've got the higher range. It also lets you advance and charge.
Yep.
So for what this is allowing our dreads to do is move further, add a D6 advance onto it, add a charge roll onto it,
and go through walls.
And go through walls.
Which is
now,
huge.
At the moment, any other detachment, it's 6-inch move and then a charge.
Yep. Around
Around
terrain.
terrain. So they're unplayable in any other thing, but in detachment, they don't just go up one gear, they go up 2 or 3 gears.
I think this is so pedantic, and apologies for anybody listening, but calling it Solar Spearhead and then having a Dreadnought focus list is really weird. Things that Solar Watch has always been about bikes and speed. I understand the movement side of it, but it's a weird name for exactly what they've gone after. But anyway, that's my...
I had the same thought. When I saw Solar Spearhead, I thought, oh, bikes are going to get it now.
Yeah, exactly. I exactly that. I was like, okay, cool. And I was reading, and I was trying to find where the bike part of it was. But anyway, there is a little bit of... Because it's not just vehicles that can go through walls, it is bikes as well, right? So...
Yeah, bikes,
Mountains.
That's the strat, yeah. But it's interesting. It's only in the movement phase, which is something... Yeah, it's not in the charge phase. Now, that, in and of itself... I've played this detachment twice now. And the real money here, from my opinion anyway, is my least favourite Dreadnought, which is the Venerable Contemptor.
Yeah.
And then the Telemon. However, I'm really starting to think Telemons are not too sure. Well, we can go through this in more detail. Let's go through the...
In terms of other high level things, right? You can make a Dreadnought characters. You can make 2 of them characters, which is huge. And the enhancements are cool. So Adeptus Custodes model from your model only. Improve attacks, strength, and damage by 1. I thought that on a Dreadnought, but on a Telemon, but we'll get into that. We've had that conversation offline.
Yeah, it's all day. It's Blade Champion.
Yeah,
all day.
And it is Blade Champion. Oh, I was like Telemon, and then you were like Blade Champion. I was like, oh yeah, it's Blade Champion, isn't it?
I mean, it's got to be because it's got 3 profiles, right? Yeah, so exactly.
The sweet profile up comes damage 2, AP 2. It's huge.
Well, it's still, it doesn't change the AP, does it? So it's still a bit above tax, right? Damage, yeah. But it's the ability, because you've got an innate precision.
Yep.
So your precisioning goes to AP 3, or your dev wounds then goes to
damage.
Not AP 3, damage 3. Your dev wounds then goes to damage 4. You know.
Yeah. And the extra attack is nice as well. Bearer has a 5-up Feel No Pain. That goes on the Telemon. So you've got a Telemon that is T12, I think it is. -1.
No, it's not. It's not minus T11. It's not 12. That's when this detachment came out. I was thinking, oh great. So then I started to take a closer look at the actual data sheets for them, and I was kind of a little bit I mean, admittedly, I always knew what their movement was going to be.
Yeah.
But the Telemon's toughness is 10.
What?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. It's 10.
Okay,
so
that shows you how long it's been since I looked at the Telemon profile.
I mean, the normal dreads are toughness 9, right? The Telemon toughness is toughness 10. I mean, to give you an idea, what's really annoying is that, from my perspective, is that in 8th and 9th, the Telemon was like this almost unkillable thing, right?
Yeah, I loved them. I used to run 2. They're brilliant.
The Caladius was a lower toughness. Now the Caladius is a higher toughness. It's harder to kill a Caladius than it is to kill a Telemon in certain, if you're doing such high damage that you don't really care about the -1 damage on the Telemon. The Caladius has more wounds. It's got a 5-up influence and a 4-up influence, but it's just a higher toughness. So Melter starts to struggle into it, but not so much into the Telemon.
Interesting. Right. So, and then just to run through the other ones, you've got a Custodes vehicle, and then while a friendly infantry or mounted units within 6, you can reroll hit roll of 1. There. And then veteran of the Cataphractii. Custodes infantry or Custodes mounted unit. In your movement phase, select one Adeptus Custodes unit within 6 inches until the start of your next command phase. That unit is eligible to shoot in the turn which it fell back. There are 2 outstanding enhancements. There are 2 meh enhancements. And then you get onto the strats. So, strats wise, you have the... If your strength is higher than your toughness, -1 to wound on a vehicle. You have Fight on Death, is it? Yeah, Fight on Death on a 4+. Adeptus Custodes unit. You have a pile-in D3+3 instead of 3 inches. That's big. We'll get to that because that's got some play with bikes and bike captains and stuff, I think. In terms of range, what you can tag. Until the end of your phase, models in your movement can move horizontally through models and terrain features. That's Custodes vehicle and mounted. Interesting. Could you have a Caladius that pops out of a wall? That could be quite cool. I've been only thinking like Dreadnoughts, but anyway. Eligible to shoot and declare a charge on which it advanced. And then you have the final one, punishment inescapable. Until the end of the phase, ranged weapons equipped have ignores cover. And until the end of the phase, each time your model makes an attack, you can ignore any and all modifiers to ballistic skill. So, where do you want to start?
Well, considering we read the strats, we might start on CP management, because this detachment is presented as a bit of a problem in terms of we've never had before. It's quite a good problem. Is where does the CP go?
Yeah.
Say you've got a Telemon and you're on UKTC terrain.
Yep.
You can move 10 inches. You can advance and charge, and you're going to have to go through the wall at that point.
Yep.
Well, that's 2 CP right there. So if you need to tighten the belt and avoid using any in turn 1 unless you're rushing in forward.
Yep.
But if you are, then you're probably not going to have the CP to do it. So you're probably going to have to tighten the belt for turn 1, save all the CP. So going into turn 3, you've either got 3 or 4, depending on if you go first or second, or if you've discarded a secondary. And you're going to need that. And if they have something like a Vect, then it's even worse. So it's the strats are great. I would have preferred them to be. Yeah, I would have preferred them to be a bit more generic around the rest of the the faction. The pile-in one, I love that pile-in one. But both games that I played with this, I found that my dreads were taking up far too much of my CP. So I wasn't able to do Wrathful Advance. I wasn't able to do the D3 pile-in,
Why don't we start with list types then, right? So you've played this twice. Which dreads did you take both times?
Telemon.
1?
Because of the 5 Infernal Pain. Now, yes, he is an absolute monstrosity, but one of the times I went into the Silent King, Necron's Star Shatter, and his value just disappeared.
You running double fists, or are you running fist and gun?
Fist and gun.
Okay.
I'm actually tempted to go fist, 2 guns, to be honest.
Really? Not double fist?
No, not double fist. I'm tempted to go 2 guns. I mean, if you look at it, so I charged into. I moved him through, advanced him. The first game I charged him into. It was against Imperial Guard, Sam's Astra Militarum. I ended up charging him into, 10 guardsmen. And he splat 4 of them. Oh, great. What's that going to do? He would have splat probably 4 of them, even with his feet attacks. So I think where we're going now, I think even into the meta of high vehicles, the fist is great, but I don't know. It's just something about those guns. 5 attacks. You're hitting on 2s, probably rerolling 1s. You're only AP 2. And most vehicles that you're going into are 2 up save, so all of a sudden they've got a 4 up save. So what if 2 goes through? That's 6 wounds. 6 wounds off a Vindicator or something.
Interesting.
It's not. It's not. It's not the be all and end all. Whereas I just liked the extra dev wound shooting. Having said that, I haven't tried it into other armies. For example, into the new Death Watch. If they start spamming Gravis, Marine, kill teams,
Yep. You want the 3 damage.
then it'll be fantastic. Yeah. But I don't know. I loved it. I loved its durability. It's its output that I was concerned about because 210 or 215 points
Is it
is.
235?
Pardon?
It's 235, ain't it?
No. They lowered it last time, I think. It started off something ridiculous.
This is
You
how
got me checking
detached I
that.
am from Telemon. I'm checking. You fill it in. You fill it into the ladies and gentlemen that
Oh,
listen
well,
to us.
they started off something ridiculous. They brought them down at 215, and then they brought them down again. I think so. It's the same price as a grav tank.
I didn't realise that. I always thought it was 235. Wow.
And to be brutally honest, after the 2 games, I would much have preferred another grav tank.
Interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then you could have saved the 25 points as well. Oh, that's why, because I'm thinking 25 points, 240 for the enhancement.
Oh yeah.
So yeah, you could have saved the 25 points more for the enhancement. Or would you use the enhancement elsewhere?
That's a good question. I would probably use it on a. Well, what I've been thinking is a Terminator captain, to be honest.
Really?
We'll just go in solo. Rapid ingressing, taking a load of shooting and spamming his making everything damage 1,
With the 5 on the pain. So
and giving him the 5 from the pain.
So he's tanky as shit.
Yeah, and then your opponent, you rapid ingress just out of range of his charging, and then you just move obviously your 5 up, and then you can charge probably onto his home objective. The problem is you don't really, if he's got 10 cultists there, you're not going to clear through them and then lower his OC enough.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to. I really like the 5 up from the pain. 25 points. If I do take another dread, it's going to be on 1. But I think where we were talking about this detachment being really positive and really good, it's difficult to see the route that. Look, I don't want to look a gift horse in the mouth. I'm happy about this detachment. It's really made it much more interesting for me to play the faction, and I've really enjoyed playing it. I don't think it's as good as Shield Host
I was literally going to say that.
Talons.
So I was going to say that this feels like a fluffy, fun thing when you want to play a casual game. I think there's a lot of talk about this detachment, but with no mortal wound protection, I think the damage output falls off massively in terms of compared to Shield Host. I don't love it, and it's a pity because I don't know what more they could do to make Dreadnoughts more interesting. But I can't see this as something that will go 5-0, 4-1. And somebody in the comments will tell me that recently somebody went 5-0 with this detachment, and I'll say well done. But I think there's too much in the game and now that will batter the crap out of this.
You can easily make a stat check army with this. Right, you just slap 2 Telemons in.
For a teams tournament, right? If you have a teams tournament, you can engineer which matchup, yeah.
Yeah, but you can do it and then get a decent run at a RTT or at a GT or something, right? You can do it like in the game against Necrons.
Yeah.
I had him pinned in his deployment until the end of turn 4. But the problem was I had nothing left. He just moved out and scored other points.
Did you win both, or did you lose both, or did you win one and lose one?
No, but we were doing WTC scoring.
Okay.
In prep for this.
Oh, it was Alex. You played against Alex.
Yeah, Alex. Yeah.
Yeah.
Alex and Sam. Yeah, and it was 10-10, 10-10. So we drew both games WTC wise. But if it was tournament scoring, then Alex with the Necrons would have beaten me.
Gotcha.
So I don't know. It's I think it needs a lot lot more games, but I don't. For example, Sam, when I was playing, he was using cheap guard units to just do grenade after grenade, every shooting phase of grenade, and it was having literally zero defense against that.
And what was he sorry, in terms of your list, you said you had a Telemon, and then we got into what a Telemon does. What else did you have in your list?
So just a normal Ven Contemptor.
Just one?
Just one, yeah. 2 units of Wardens, a unit of Bikes, Venatari, Guard with Draxus, a couple of units of Sisters, a Navigator, and Caladius.
Okay.
So it's a pretty standard list. All I've done is I've removed a bit of the points I'm spending on. So, for example, the list I took to Dark Sphere, I've removed the 2 Alaris.
Yep.
I've removed Valerian.
Yep.
And I've switched. Oh god! I switched something else out, and all of a sudden I've got enough space to put in the Telemon and the Ven Contemptor.
It's interesting, right? So this detachment is geared up for dreads, but you've only put about 400 points of dreads into your list. Do you think if you tailored harder into it or steered harder into it, the list would work better?
No, I don't think so. Because you lack OC. The second you take a single pip of damage, your OC drops.
This is kind of exactly what I was trying to think about, right? So it's not really a detachment designed for 10th edition. Let's put it like that, right? Because if you go for 1,000 points of dreads, you're going to lose the game on every other part of what 10th edition is. I think it's a fun detachment. I don't think there's play in it personally.
I mean, and the issue is like I was just sat down and I was talking to someone who plays Tau, and he was talking about that list where the commanders drop and then move and they've got that grenade thing.
Yep.
He was saying grenade, you move over, you do the damage. Like you can do 16, up to 18 mortal wounds in a turn.
Yep.
Average rolling, that's 9. That's 3 wounds less than what a Telemon has in total,
yep.
Or that is 1 wound less than what has a Contemptor. So what I'm a little bit worried about is that when you come into armies that have the ability to spam dev wounds, for example, Slaanesh, right? Demonettes.
Yep.
So Demonettes charge, run into a how many attacks is Demonettes?
3 attacks each, so there's 10 in the unit. And if you have Celeste,
30 attacks.
Wounds on 5s are devs. So there's 10 dev wounds on just them.
And you can easily make them reroll, right?
Yeah, they reroll hits, I think it is, if you're on an objective.
And then
no, it's hits.
They probably wouldn't do that thing where they lose their fights first bonus in order to get reroll hits and wounds. But this unit of Demonettes with Slaanesh, I mean, that's going to kill. It's going to kill even a Galatus in combat.
With Celeste, yeah.
So, with Celeste, yeah. So, what I find is that previously in other editions, I would put the Galatus down, and then you've got 10.
Absorb the hit.
Yeah. Easily absorb it and then hit back.
Yep.
Now, I'm thinking, oh god. But into armies that don't have that output of dev wounds, it's great. Into World Eaters, Galatus Dreadnoughts are fantastic.
Yep. They're
absolutely great. Achilles, not so much. But Galatus are great because all your what do you call them? Berserkers.
Yep.
All wounding on 6s.
Yeah.
All your normal 8-bound, all wounding on 6s. So they're absolutely incredible. But into a lot of armies which is dishing out mortal wounds, it's just not good enough. Now, it's a really enjoyable detachment to play, and I don't want anyone to think that we're poo-pooing it. It's a really enjoyable detachment to play, and I think that it's going to reignite some a lot of enjoyment in the faction. But in terms of strats, feel when I was playing it that it had the backbone within the strats to be, for example, when I stand and my opponent's telling me what he's doing,
Yep.
or what his army is at the start of a game, I always think, oh crap, he's got that faction. Oh crap, he's got that. Oh crap, he's got that. And I think to myself, I'm going to lose this. I'm going to lose this. And then it takes me about a turn or two to realise that he's probably thinking exactly the same thing about when I say my wardens or when I say my whatever. But as I was talking through it, I was talking through and saying to Alex and saying to Sam, these are the strats they can do. There wasn't, apart from the move through walls and the advance and charge, they didn't care. And then that's easily blockable because the move through walls is only in the movement phase. So Sam with the guard always had the disposable unit to just layer something in front of me. And Alex didn't really care as well because he just put the Silent King, which was almost unkillable because he made it -1 damage. And in his shooting phase, he ignored all of my -1 to wound, so there's no point I couldn't do the strat. So what I found was the strats didn't give me the tools to kind of either counteract or put a knockout blow down. Whereas I find that things like Talons with the reactive move, it's pretty much only the reactive move that you're spamming, but it's so powerful. The shield host, feel no pain. Right, okay, that's really powerful. It was. Don't get me wrong, I love the games, but playing them, but I don't think this is as competitive as our other current detachments.
And it's a pity. Like, I don't really know what else they could add to it. Not that they're going to have a wreck on it, but what they could add to it to make it feel better. I came to a similar conclusion with you without obviously playing the game. It's just theory crafting of, and I know people have done well with it. I know they can go, double Achilles, double Galatus, triple Vendreads, and you've got points left over for days. What's that? 750, 800, 900 points, something like that. And that's why I asked the question. If you geared more into it, do you think you'd have had a better time? But I think you lose so much from the base Custodes, and I really do think that if you leave Shield Host, you just slap so much less hard. I don't know, that's a real basic conclusion to make, but I think it's worth stating that triggering on fives is a huge thing to give up for a little bit of extra movement on a couple of dreads.
Yeah, because fundamentally you get the reroll ones to hit and ones to wound, potentially when you're almost dying. But let's just say you move out and you advance and you charge and you've moved out from a hidden location and you move out, advance and charge. Anything other than a Telemon is going to hit, but nothing different is happening because you've moved out, so you haven't taken any damage.
Yep.
You're not rerolling ones and you're not rerolling ones to wound. So what you find is that unless you've put the extra attack, strength, and damage on Dread, exactly the same as if you rapid ingressed and did it in another detachment, or it's even less because you're not getting the exploding fives. But you're then relying on that Dread taking some damage but not dying in order to get your rerolls. And it's kind of like, well, they're only toughness 9. The Achilles has a 5 up and vulnerable save. That's going down. I don't care who you're against. That's going down. The Galatus, you've got 4 up in vuln, so you may roll pretty hot. Your Telemon, it's pretty durable, especially with the 5 from the pain. But again, it's kind of like, well, there's only 5 attacks. What if you're going into a unit of what if he tar pits you with 10 intercessors or 10 strike marines or 10 cultists or whatever? I don't know. All of a sudden, you're not getting through them. Even with the 2 fists, if he throws 10 10 cultists in there, then there's still going to be 3 alive.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So and unless you have the I'm just looking at this. I don't think there's an option for us to fall back, shoot, and charge outside of the fall back and shoot.
It's a shoot. Well,
Yeah, so there's no fall back and charge. So if someone tar pits us with 10 cultists, the Telemons, yeah. So I think that there were. If I was an opponent looking at Solar, Solar Spearhead, I'd see some really quite easy ways to kind of counter it.
It's a pity. It really is a pity.
But bikes. We haven't really spoken about bikes in the context of this detachment.
Go for it.
I really like them, especially with the glow up that they've had in the data slate, which might be a good segue onto that now. But moving through walls is fantastic. But I think...
Were you running 1 and 2, or did you run any more than that? Like 1 shield?
No, 1 and 2, because the shield captain with the bikes is what makes the bikes.
Yep.
Everyone's saying, bikes. No. It's the shield captain with the bikes. Because the shield captain will enable you to charge, kill something, and then make a normal move over something else and trigger your mortal wounds. It also will mean that, in an army that's already strapped for CP, you can use that free strat to move through the walls. Or indeed do your extra fall in, pile in,
Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm going quiet because I'm trying to find... I'm sure I saw it. When they did the Grotmas calendar thing, the Grotmas detachments and Custodes, they ranked quite highly, hadn't they? I just can't find it on Warcom. Where is it? It's in one of our chats.
I think we were second.
I thought it was third, but either way, it's... And based on everything we've just said there, I don't understand how that was the conclusion.
I can't. Yeah, what I feel is everyone is looking at this and saying, "Oh, it's great! It's pulling in more data sheets." Yeah, pulling in more data sheets, pulling in more usable, heavy hitting units that can hit up points wise, which they can, right? However, if I was looking at this and saying, well, to be brutally honest, a advance and charge blade champion squad with a four guard is probably about 120 points more expensive.
Yep.
But it's got 4 of them 26 attacks. If you're doing the dead wounds, you got 3 times the amount of attack or 4 times the amount of attacks. You've got a lot more wounds. You've got a lot more break points on the damage into them. You've got a lot more OC. You've got almost the same amount of reach.
Yeah. So I'm just looking at this is from Goonhammer, right? So shout out to Goonhammer for all their stats, and it's a Meta Monday type analysis. So you've got Custodes as the second highest win rate, 57.5%, with 529 games played. Necron Star Shatter, 972 games played, so almost double, not just off, 56.7%. So there's not statistically that much difference, 0.8% win rate higher, yet Custodes have sort of fared better. And I
don't understand where they're getting these stats from. Are those like tournaments? Is that just the data that's been input into their app that they're getting? So. But or do you reckon that's tournaments? Because I don't know.
It can't be tournaments.
I mean,
there can't be 529 tournaments.
529 games in tournaments over the Christmas period. Yeah, so it's interesting where they're going to get that. Because also then it's also relative as well, right? Because you've got half the factions weren't released until almost the second half of the month, right? So we were like 5th or 6th or something.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a lot more games with us than other ones, and you've got some incredible detachments that came out later. So I think you're probably going to need a bit of time to kind of go through it all, and kind of.
Sorry, I've just spent ages trying to find this and look it up, but I guess the thing I wanted to end this section on is how we compare to others at Grotmas, because you spoke about the Sam matchup, and he played the Scion detachment, right? And you played into the Star Shatter, which was the Necron detachment. And they were both draws, right? So on paper, if you're just looking at pure numbers rather than actual how it played out, you'd say they're fairly balanced. Player skill taken into account, but it's a draw. You know, these haven't broken the meta. But did you feel that Star Shatter was better for him than Solar detachment was for you?
Oh, infinitely.
I know it sounds like a real basic analysis to do, but that's kind of what I'm trying to get at, right? Like I'm trying to say,
Yeah, no, I get where you come from. I get where you come from. I mean, it's just I felt like Star Shatter was because what he would do is just pop and go out. I'm going to pop that Doomsday Arc out to see that unit there. Oh, now he's got his rerolls because
yep,
I'm on an objective. Oh, I go to try and kill him back, and he's got a -1 damage.
yep,
So if all of a sudden I'm charging into, I charged into something with, my Venatari,
yep.
something which only had like 8 wounds, 9 wounds. That one of those walker things.
Oh yeah,
And
Trisols.
yeah, and at the end of it, and I rolled average, right? But at the end of it, he's still only losing 4 wounds, 5 wounds.
That's insane.
And I'm thinking, oh great, and all of a sudden, he moves off, and there's a Doomsday Arc, like literally pointing down the face of the Venatari. So anything that has -1 damage really affects us in combat. So then we've got to counter it.
Yeah.
And how do we counter that? Well, we counter it by increasing our damage output through 3 damage or 4 damage, which Dreads can do, or we go and we do massed volume 1 damage, which can work. Especially with on sheer number of attacks, but if that's the case, it's better doing that in other detachments.
I agree. I agree. Look, yeah. I think you've hit the nail on the head. So just to summarise in terms of my thought process, this was a really cool detachment. It was a really cool idea, but then everybody else got their own toys, and it was a bit like, oh, it kind of became average as one of the Grotmas detachments, and specifically, I can't see a reason to play the third tournament. Now, please criticise me in the comment section below and tell me that I'm wrong, but I think that if you step up to the table and you've got Dread Spam into, I'm not Shield Host, I'm going, cool, I'm okay with that. Like, I don't really care. I'd much rather face Dread Spam than Shield Host, by far.
Yeah, I mean the amount of, what's that Dev Wound stuff that's in Haywire, that's it.
Haywire.
The amount of Haywire we're going to see is going to go up, especially with the amount of things going on. Demons as well.
Yep.
Again, what's going to go through demons, especially through the Legion of Excess, the Slanesh ones, is going to be weight of attacks.
Yep.
That's where it's going to be. Into Scintillating Legion as well, it's going to have to be durability. And again, if you're just throwing 1 or 2 dreads down, that's 1 or 2 targets. So it's interesting. Don't get me wrong, it's interesting. I would play this as an RTT for fun.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at this, right? Grey Knight, Warpbane, right? If someone plonks 6 Dreadknights in front of me.
Yep.
And I know they're going to have full rerolls to hit. It's I'm damage 3 shooting. I'll lose 2-3 dreads a turn.
Yep.
And going back into them, I won't kill more than 1.
I think you'll get 2. It depends on the
no, unless you get into combat.
I'm including combat.
Yeah. And again, you'll lose because again, it's kind of like one of those things. If we were Talons, then not only would we have we wouldn't be able to go through walls, but he's plonked 6 Red Knights down, and all of a sudden, if you've got sisters near him, then we've got a 5 up Film of Pain against that. So, or even a 4 up with the strat. So, it's interesting. Like I said, it's an interesting concept, and I think we're both agreed it's good, but within a very tight bubble.
I'd love to have seen, and this sorry not to keep harping on, but I'd love to have seen the +2 movement added to the data slate, so it's across all detachments. So dreads aren't just viable in this one, and nothing else. No more about the extra OC or anything else like that. That's specifically for this detachment, but just +2 movement for dreads.
You didn't need. You didn't need to put it in because you were already giving them the buffs through the extra OC and the reroll once to hit and once to wound.
Yeah.
So you didn't need to put the. It's not just extra movement, by the way. It's +1 to advance and charge.
Okay.
But you didn't need that in as well because you're already then making dreads characters.
Yeah.
So what they've done is they've kind of siloed all of the buffs in one detachment. And it's like you said, Ollie. I think they should have addressed it because if you want to play us, I think at a more competitive level, play Custodes, you're going to need to be another detachment. If you're another detachment, then you don't have access to dreads, basically.
Yeah, which has been the case since 10th started, right? Dreads have been dead in every detachment. They're still dead, and there's one detachment you can play dreads, and even then, I don't think you're going to do very well. But I wait to be proven wrong.
Yeah, we undoubtedly will be as well.
Please put down in the comment section how you won an RTT with dread spam and how I'm wrong.
I think they can win an RTT, but I don't think they'll go any further than an RTT in a competitive community.
I don't know. I think there's too many bad matchups. I still think guard beat it quite easily. I still think anything with mortal wound beats it. Like there's a lot that you sit down across the table and you go crap. And there's not much I can play around that because if you start picking up the dreads, then you lose the majority of my buffs. If you've taken 2 dreads and you pick up 2 dreads, then you lose basically the rules. You just get all the and one of the enhancements. You just get the strats, which are mostly
the second you lose your vehicles, the detachment is I mean, obviously it depends where you put your enhancements, but the second you lose your vehicles, I mean. So if you've got no vehicles, or you've only got, say, for example, one Caladius at the back or whatever, but you've got all your dreads gone, you've pretty much lost access to. Unless you've got bikes, you've lost access to 3 of your strats.
Yeah.
And your other strats are fight on death, pile in an extra 3, and ignore cover, and ignore any modifiers to attack or ballistic skills. Yeah. I used that twice in the games, and it was amazing. It's AP 3, ignore cover.
That's huge.
That'll make your Caladius.
Yeah, that's huge.
So I spammed it on them, and all of a sudden, instead of them saving on 5s, it was saving on 6s. And then when they did the saving roll, he rolled out of the 3 dice, he rolled 2 5s. So there are instances where that's going to be really crooks. So I love that as a strat as well.
Interesting. Right. Any final thoughts? I know we just did final thoughts 3 times, but
No. I think let's see some more data when we have more games.
And if more data comes out, we will revise this. We will come out and say, we're wrong, or we've seen somebody use it like this, or we've had more games and we think it's like this. But this is just our initial thoughts.
Yeah.
Cool. And that's it.
Cool.
Thanks for listening.
Well, thanks for listening, everyone. And please do like and subscribe. Like I said, we are going to try and get more regular, but we are very affected by the whims of life at the moment. And so we will try and get more regular now.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Cheers. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.